I want you to notice something about this word. This is the word to love. And you shall love. It gives you the translation right there. And you shall love. That's future tense. But look at the verb. Havta. That's past tense. So we've stumbled on a mystery in the Hebrew. I want you to notice that there's an anomaly there in the Hebrew. The way that should be translated, if I'm translating it the way it's written, is it should be, and you did love, right? Or and you loved, past tense. But it's translated as future. But you'll see this in the tools, like when you go into Bible Hub, they'll call it a consecutive vav. So you know how the vav is used on the front of the word for the word and? In the Hebrew, and it's more advanced Hebrew to understand why, the rules of why, but the way I was taught is just to know that it does, like just to learn it by seeing it enough times, and then you're like, okay, I know what that is. So what it does is it changes the tense. So literally the tense will change from past to future or vice versa. So let me take you to Genesis chapter 1. And I'm going to show you this in chapter 1. Verse 3. Chapter 1, verse 3. So it says, and God said, which you'll notice something here. See the yod? Like, remember what I said about the yod? That's usually the future tense. So, ve, yomer, Elohim, yehi is future tense. See your yod again? Or is light. Va, yehi, or. So if I read that literally in the Hebrew as it's written, and God will say, light will be, and light will be. But see how it's translated? Past tense. And God said, let there be light, and there was light. So in this case, the let there be light, there's no vav, so they translate it as future tense. But in the two instances where there's a vav on the front of the word, they reverse the tense and they translate it as past tense. So just be aware of it. It's interesting. Now, see, my mind, my mind works this way. Maybe not everyone's this way, but I enjoy this. It's sort of like a Star Trek, a science fiction thing to me, even though it's real life. But I consider it interesting because it says that God said, let there be light, or there shall be light, and light was. And one of the things that the rabbis say, and I agree with, is it says he was, he is, right, and he will be. Speaking of God. And it says that in Revelation in the New Testament, but it also says it in the Old Testament, and the rabbis talk about it. So God was, he is, and he will be. The great I am in Exodus, when he talks to Moses, he actually says, I will be that I will be, is what it says in the Hebrew to Moses. But we translate it as I am. Here's where it gets deep. You know, have you heard talk about God as omnipresent? Right? And does anyone know what omnipresent means?
Present everywhere.
That's right. So it's saying, in the case of physical location, God is everywhere at the same time. Something that to us, like, I'm not that. I'm not everywhere at the same time. God is, I'm not, right? So he's omnipresent. Now, here's something that doesn't get talked about a lot in church, but God is omnitime. Now, I don't know what the technical term is for time, but I'm just going to use this term omni-time. So it means the same thing as omnipresent. So when we look at it and we say God was, God is, and God will be, if we think of it in human terms, we say, well, God knows the future. But the part we're not getting when we say that is, it's not that God simply knows the future. God's already in the future. It's like being omnipresent. He's in the future, he's in the past, and he's in the present all at the same time. He's outside of time. So we're like, we have to wait for the future to happen for me to be there. Just like I'm not omnipresent. If I want to go to Chicago, I have to travel to Chicago. Then I'm in Chicago, not in Ontario. But for God, he's in both places at the same time. So time is, and Einstein talked about it, it's just another dimension. So from our frame of reference, time is linear, right? And we're moving along the timeline. So if I want to experience next Tuesday, I've got to wait until I get to next Tuesday. But God, who's omni-time, he's already experiencing next Tuesday. He's not waiting to experience it and predicting what's going to happen. He's already there. Now that's hard to wrap our brain around, but God is omni-time. So I just find it interesting when we have this consecutive vav. When God says, let there be light, and light was, I wonder how literal that is. Like, did God speak light into existence and then it went back in time and light was created before he said it? You know what I mean? Like when we think in reference of time, we're thinking God said this in time. So at that moment in time, light before that wasn't, and now it is. So we're thinking, well, give me the time. Was it the year such and such at 12 noon? Before that it was dark and now it's light? Or did God speak into eternity and say, let there be light outside of time, and then light was created? I don't know, it's just you know, it's not really part of the lesson you have to understand. It's just my ponderings, right? I'm like, God's outside of time, so when he speaks, so I wonder if that has something to do with the whole consecutive vav thing. You know, it says the lamb in Revelation was slain before the foundation of the world. So how was Yeshua slain before the foundation of the world? Well, I think it has something to do with what I'm talking about right now, right? Even though he's slain in the future, it goes back in the past somehow. So and in Isaiah, people talk about the verb tenses, that I was healed, right? Not I shall be healed, but I was healed. So like, by his stripes I was healed. Okay, in the past I was healed by what he did then, and so it's all about time. But the consecutive vav, just to understand that it's there. So you get your ve ahavta et, there's your et, Yehovah, which Adonai, right? Elohecha, right? Which you get your ha ending. Remember when we were doing the Aaronic lesson and I said about the ha, ha, ha? So this is a ha ending, and you're going to get another one here, right? And you're going to get another one here. So you're getting the ha, right? And what is the ha? The ha is you, right? So, and ve'ahav ta, now it's ta here instead of ha, but it's, and you will love et Adonai Elohecha, right? Your God, ve'kol levavecha. That's the word for heart, and it's got ha in the end, right? With all your heart. And now here you'll notice it's something to be aware of. There's a lot of stuff power packed in this lesson, but you get your vav, which is the word and, but instead of having the shva under it, so it's ve, it becomes u, and you'll just see that again. There's rules of grammar as to why it's oo and not ve in some cases, but it's just something that happens. So sometimes it's ve and sometimes it's oo, and you know the difference by where the vowel marking is. So you get and, all, naf, sheha, your soul, u, vekol, moedeha, which is moed. But you get lev, and it's been talked about in the New Testament, Matthew, Mark, and Luke. They all three talk about the Great Commandment, and they struggle with this word meod, the Hebrew word. So they all have heart, soul, but when you get to meod, it's hard to translate. There's no real equivalent in the English. But the way it's usually translated in Hebrew is very. So it's usually an adverb. So like, for example, in the creation account, God said it was good, it was good, it was good. And then at the end, he says it was very good. And very good in Hebrew is tov meod. And that's used in modern Israel. Tov meod, very good. So that word meod, moedeha, in the prayer is very. So it means with my all. I'm all in, right? My meod.